Taiwan is just hours away from a presidential and parliamentary election. And if you're out here on the streets, it's kind of hard to see that. And that's because local officials have a lot of rules on where parties can hang their campaign posters. But make no mistake, this election is very important. At a rally for the governing Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, it feels like a party. People get dressed up, the campaign song is catchy, so much so, some people move to the music. People here are certainly young at heart, but not young, and the youth vote matters. To find the voice of youth, I head to the trendy shopping district of Ximending. This election and Taiwan itself is usually talked about in relation to two superpowers, China and the U.S. But Taiwan's youth have a lot of things on their minds, like inflation.
This lunch spot I go to used to charge $1.60 for a bento box, but over the last 2 years, it's gone up by 40% to over $2.
They worry about salaries.
The service sector pays people far too little. The salary for high-tech workers is much higher. The gap between the rich and poor is growing. More and more people can't afford to rent. I hope the new president will build some more social housing.
Some young people say they don't want to blindly vote along party lines. The governing DPP advocates for a stronger Taiwanese identity, and that angers Beijing because China claims Taiwan as its own and has not ruled out the use of force to secure control. The main opposition, the Kuomintang, wants closer ties to China. And the Taiwan People's Party offers something in between. This poster says Taiwan should be prepared for a war with China, she says, but shouldn't provoke one. Sure, young people are worried about the prospects of a war with China, but most of us Taiwanese are not that anxious because tensions with China have been going on for a long time, says Lena Sun. So under this environment, young people are a bit tired. She's still undecided which party to vote for. The parties are different, she says, but they're not making their positions clear on the big issues.
I think many candidates have avoided the topic of Taiwan cutting ties with mainland China.
And the opposition KMT is seen as pro-Beijing, but even it isn't calling for unification with China. Some voters want the next president to help sectors affected by geopolitics. Guo Jinghan says some tech firms in Taiwan have already cut staff, or they're on a hiring freeze, partly because U.S. China tensions have meant fewer orders.
When
the U.S. imposes chip sanctions on mainland China, our exports to China diminish. Less work means fewer staff.
That's why some young people think Taiwan's economy has been too reliant on semiconductors and other hardware, and should diversify into software.
Taiwan doesn't have a software company that's a global player.
Young people long to hear substance from candidates.
Most party candidates aren't talking about how their platforms can improve Taiwan. Instead, they're yelling about how bad the other parties and their candidates are.
Others wish politicians would do more for students who are struggling.
Some parents help with school fees. That's not easy for them, so we need to find our own pocket money. I want to concentrate on my studies, but instead I end up studying and working at the same time. It's exhausting being a student.
The U.S. and China and what they want hover over this election. But for Taiwan's young voters, everyday struggles on the ground are just as important. In Taipei, I'm Jennifer Pak for Marketplace.